Lassen Volcanic National Park has the Lassen Peak, pretty mountain lakes, great hiking and auto touring. It's lots of fun to visit. Let me show you the highlights. Well, if you're into volcanoes, Lassen is probably the best park for you to come to because it's the park that's got all four types of volcanoes in one place. The composite, the shield, the cinder cone, and the plug dome. And it has all of them, and it has a lot of information here about how things erupt and all the different remnants and how you look at the evidence and the different kinds of rocks to figure out what really happened. So if you're into geology, if you're into volcanoes and how they happen, this is a fantastic park for you to come to. The park was established in 1916, shortly after the last eruption started. The way to tour Lassen is to drive the Lassen Road, which goes from the southwest entrance to the northwest entrance, or vice versa. And it's basically a road that you can drive with a lot of different stops and quite a few different hiking trails that you can take. The one that I will absolutely do is the Bumpass Hell trail that leads you down to the Hydrothermal Works, and if you're really up to it, you can do the Lassen Peak trail, which is really strenuous, and a couple other trails. Just stop by and whichever one strikes your fancy. While it takes about an hour to drive through the park, you definitely don't want to do just that. So you want to stop at different places. The scenery is absolutely beautiful. And it took us basically a day to drive through the park, stopping at different places. We're doing only one hike. And if you want to do two hikes, you can probably do that with a long day. But if you want to do more than that, you probably want to spend more than a day here. The season in Lassen are actually quite short. They don't really finish plowing the snow on the road until sometimes July, sometimes June, sometimes July, depending on how much snow they have to clear. And even then, some of the trails may not be open because of snow. So the season is actually quite short. It's really from July to September, October, before the snow falls again to close the park. We visited twice, and they were vastly different experiences. The first time was in May, when most of the main park road was closed due to deep snow. But even with the snow on the ground, you can still get to the two visitor centers, and some of them sometimes is buried by a lot of snow, like almost covering the roof of the visitor center. And you can go snowshoeing in the wintertime, which is a popular activity here. The road is basically closed after the visitor center because they have to clear it. And we're walking up the road because they do allow people to walk up to a point called Sulphur Springs, I think called, or Sulphur Point. So we'll go to see what's there, but you can see the snow and the work that they have to do to clear the snow. Lassen has the largest hydrothermal features outside of Yellowstone. Manzanita Lake on the northwest side of the park is 1,000 feet lower in elevation, and what a difference. There was no snow there in early May. The loop around Manzanita Lake is a great hike of less than 2 miles. There were many gorgeous views of the lake with snow-covered Lassen Peak as the background. Next to Manzanita Lake were Reflecting Lake and Lily Pond. The Lily Pond Interpretive Trail was only half a mile, but rich in information about the local ecosystem. Further into the park is Crags, a group of lava domes. About 350 years ago, one of the domes at Crags collapsed and caused a massive rock slide on the north side of the mountain, with rocks tumbling down at 100 miles per hour, destroying all trees on its way and dammed Manzanita Creek, which formed Manzanita Lake. Devastated area, which is about 600 feet higher in elevation, and that made all the difference in snow accumulation. The road was only cleared up to devastated area, beyond which it was not yet cleared. The interpretive trail at devastated area was not open because it was covered in snow. We'll hit that during our fall visit. The little that we saw at Lassen during our spring visit was so enjoyable that we had to come back to see the full park. And we did exactly that, except this time in the fall. What a beautiful sunny day it is. It's a little bit cool, which is perfect for hiking. Our first stop of the day is the Bumpass Hell Trail. Now we were told or warned that you better get here early because the parking lot may be full. We got here around 10 o'clock and on a Saturday morning in September, and it is not that crowded yet, but they say it's going to fill up. So we bypassed the visitor center and come here directly so we can get this hike in before the parking lot fills up. Not too far away from the parking lot, do a little bit of hiking and you see Lake Helen from up here. Of course, you can always drive down also, but look at this view. Lake Helen, deep blue water. The first view of Bumpass Hell. Great geothermal, reminds me of Yellowstone actually. Very nice. After a 300-foot descent, we're now at the bottom where you see the boardwalk and all the steam vents. Wow, what a magnificent sight. After you get to the boardwalk of the Bumpass Hell area, keep walking, keep going. And you're going to climb up this hill and you're going to get this fantastic view from the top. You see all the vents and all the colors of the water. It is beautiful up here. Very much well worth the climb. Well, if you were to take only one hiking trail in Lassen Volcanic National Park, Bumpass Hell is the one to take. It's actually moderate because it's got a couple of hills. The trail map says it's 300 feet elevation change, but it's actually a little bit deceiving because you actually have to do two 300 feet changes. You climb slowly on the way up to this hill, and then you got to go down 300 feet to get to the geothermal stuff, and then of course you got to come back up 300 feet before you go back down 300 feet. So you're actually doing the 300 feet twice. But it is well worth it. It is a wonderful, wonderful hike. It is now 12 o'clock and the parking lot is now completely full. So you got to come here a little early. Today is the Saturday after Labor Day, so it's not even the peak time. But got to come to this trail early and do the hike. At 10 o'clock, it was plenty of space. After that fantastic hike to Bumpass Hell, we doubled back to the visitor center and took care of our park business. The first stop after the Kom Yamani Visitor Center is Sulphur Works, where you really smell the sulfur and you see the steam coming out of the earth. Marked as stop number 5, which is Emerald Lake. And the green color that you see here is from something called alga, which gives it a nice little green hue and yet keeps it very, very clear. Looks nice and pristine. You can sort of walk a little bit around the lake if you are so inclined and have more time. We're just making a quick stop here. Lake Helen is a great place for a picnic. Lots of picnic benches here, and the water looks blue and beautiful. And if you're so inclined, you can swim here. The South Beach that you see there with a few people hanging out. I gotta imagine this water's pretty cold though, so I don't know how long you want to stay in this water, but yes, you can swim here if you want. Look at that beautiful blue color lake. Lassen Peak. The Lassen Peak Trail is not for the faint of heart. It is 2.5 miles, but it goes up 2,000 feet in that 2.5 miles. So it's quite steep and quite strenuous. But I gotta believe when you get up there, the view has gotta be fantastic. And not only is it steep, but we are starting out at 8,500 feet of elevation, which means that at the top it is 10,400 feet. So the oxygen is a little scarce at this altitude. Kings Creek Meadow, beautiful view of Lassen Peak back there. The white spots that you see are snow that hasn't melted yet, with a nice meadow in the front. Kings Creek Trail is a 2.8 mile out and back. Go to this wonderful waterfall about 30 feet, and it is beautiful. You go down this relatively flat walk through the woods, although with the fire burn, it's a lot sunnier than it used to be. Then you kind of go down this slope, down to the waterfall, and then you come back up via Cascades Trail, which is a very steep with lots of steps, but it parallels this beautiful cascade water that is just really refreshing. The whole thing is 2.8 miles and a good workout. Elevation change total about 450 feet. After Kings Creek Falls, we reached devastated area, the end of the road for us the last time we visited. Here's a comparison of the same view, different seasons of Lassen Peak. Which is better? Leave a comment below. The Devastated Area Interpretive Trail has all these plaques that talks about different things. And what's different versus the normal things that you see is that there's a little blue button down here. And if you press it, it talks to you.
Hot rock. This panel stands amid small rocks, towering pines, and a massive boulder.
As an example, this particular plaque tells you all about the new rocks and the old rocks. Some of them are quite new, as in it was formed in 1915 when the volcano erupted. Some other ones are quite old, and it was washed down as the volcano erupted and everything kind of flowed down and devastated the whole area. So it have different kinds of rocks down here, different colors, different shapes, and they kind of figure out which ones are from what kind of activity. As you walk on these trails, you see these boulders, as it described in the different panels, that's been scattered all over from the last eruption, about more than 100 years ago now. And it got all these different kinds of rocks that you see, and it's just kind of a nice shaded area to walk around and to listen and to study the geology and the volcanoes. After passing Chaos Crags, we reached the other end of the park, the Manzanita Lake area. At the southwest part of the park is the Manzanita Lake entrance, one of two major entrances here at Lassen. There are a number of trails here that basically goes around the lake. The walk around the lake is absolutely beautiful. We did that the last time we were here, and it was fantastic. The Loomis Museum here, built in 1926, preserves the Lassen volcano history with original photos from the 1915 eruption. It's worth a quick stop if you're interested. There are many other interesting sites we did not get a chance to visit. The most interesting ones are the Cinder Cone Trail and the Boiling Springs Lake Trail. These areas were impacted by the Dixie Fire of 2021 and are still recovering. Check the park website for the current status. The Cinder Cone Trail is in the northeast corner of the park by Butte Lake. It is not easy to get to. The trail starts its climb about 1.2 miles in, and you climb 846 feet in less than a mile with no shade and on cinders, which is like sand, making it even more difficult. Boiling Springs Lake is in the Warner Valley area on the southeast side of the park. It's a 3-mile hike to a lake that is constantly at 125 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 52 degrees Celsius. Lassen Volcanic National Park combines hydrothermal features, a dominant mountain, and pristine lakes into one park that is easy to visit. It is comparatively less crowded than other parks, and it's lots of fun to visit. We are on our way to visit all the national parks in the United States. Follow along by hitting the subscribe button below. Hit the notification bell so you know when a new video is released. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and please share it with everybody that you know.